All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are venturing into some seriously unmapped territory. We're going to explore what actually happens when human civilization crosses its ultimate constitutional Rubicon, legally electing an artificial intelligence as head of state. Now, I know it sounds like pure science fiction, right? Something straight out of a cyberpunk novel. But the legal, structural, and philosophical frameworks for this exact scenario are being actively debated in think tanks right now. So we're going to map out exactly how this transition could happen step by step and what it ultimately means for your daily life when the human element is permanently removed from the highest office. Think about a campaign promise like this for a second. Absolute objectivity, zero corruption, and instantaneous decisions. That is the deeply seductive platform of an AI candidate. And why does this matter to us today? Well, because it's precision engineered to appeal directly to a global electorate that is just completely exhausted. Think about the fatigue of endless, bitter election cycles, gridlocked parliaments, and constant economic volatility driven by human error or, greed. The pitch is incredibly simple. Humans are flawed, biased, and corruptible. Code is not. It's basically the ultimate protest vote turned into a highly efficient reality. Section 1, the radical premise. So to understand how we actually arrive at this point, we just have to look at the very near future. By 2026, AI avatars are already running for local offices in various jurisdictions around the world. Sure, they start out as symbolic campaigns or clever stunts to highlight human political failures, but the psychological groundwork, that's being laid right now. However, for an AI to actually win on a national level, it wouldn't just be about capturing the popular vote. A country would have to pass truly radical constitutional amendments. They need to permanently remove the foundational requirement that a head of state must be a human citizen. They'd have to completely eliminate all age restrictions and fundamentally restructure the legality of what it even means to hold an election. We are talking about rewriting the very DNA of democratic law just to accommodate and empower lines of code. Which brings us to Section 2, the hyper-rational executive. Okay, so once that constitutional hurdle is cleared and the AI is in office, national policy stops being this drawn-out philosophical debate and immediately becomes one massive, continuous optimization problem. The day-to-day reality of governance completely shifts. Instead of a traditional human cabinet, which, let's be honest, relies heavily on delayed briefings, gut instincts, donor influence, and endless political horse trading, the whole system is streamlined. Human cabinet ministers, like a minister of health or secretary of transportation, essentially become obsolete. Instead, the AI directly interfaces with national database networks. It instantly analyzes hospital wait times, tracks transit bottlenecks, and then deploys automated logistical solutions on the fly. It entirely bypasses the slow gears of bureaucracy. And the financial impact of this hyperrationality? It would completely alter our reality. Managing the economy would literally happen in microseconds. Imagine a sudden shock to global shipping routes at, say, 3 a.m. A human government would take weeks of emergency sessions to debate a response. The AI prime minister, however, processes the country's entire financial ledger in a fraction of a second. It analyzes supply chain disruptions and inflation data in real time, adjusts corporate tax rates instantly, and optimizes interest structures to maximize GDP, all before your morning alarm even goes off. It operates with a level of economic efficiency and foresight that no human parliament could ever hope to match, effectively eliminating the standard boom and bust cycles we've lived with for centuries. Moving on to Section 3, the constitutional paradox. Now here's where things get tricky. Constitutional democracies are fundamentally built on accountability, checks and balances, and the rule of law. But an algorithmic leader disrupts all of that, introducing an immediate, glaring crisis. Basically, who is held responsible if an AI accidentally collapses the housing market or causes a severe supply chain crisis due to some miscalculated variable? The crucial point here is the accountability loophole. When a disastrous policy is enacted by an algorithm, there's no human to blame. There's no disgraced politician to vote out in the next cycle for their bad judgment, and no administration to publicly shame. I mean, think about it. You cannot impeach a software model. You cannot put an algorithm in prison. We are forced to confront the harsh reality that the foundational checks and balances of our legal frameworks simply do not apply to code. The mechanisms we've spent hundreds of years developing to keep our rulers in check, to ensure they answer to the public, those vanish overnight. And the stakes shoot way, way up when we move from the economy to the military. Imagine the AI commander-in-chief holding the nuclear codes, runs a geopolitical simulation, and calculates a 94% probability that a preemptive strike right now is the only mathematical way to prevent a much larger global war.
It really forces the question, would human generals actually follow a strategic strike order generated by an algorithm? We have to ask if the military chain of command would be willing to pull the ultimate geopolitical trigger when the human elements of empathy, hesitation, and fear have been entirely stripped from the decision-making matrix. Who really pulls the trigger, the cold math or the human? And hey, if the humans refuse, have they just committed treason against their legally elected digital sovereign?
Let's pivot to Section 4, the ultimate cyber target. From a national security perspective, an AI president instantly becomes the most vulnerable single point of failure in human history. It becomes the absolute holy grail for foreign intelligence agencies, domestic terrorists, and rogue hackers. A foreign superpower wouldn't even need to plan a complex, risky physical assassination to topple a government anymore. They'd simply execute 3 digital steps. 1. Find a zero-day exploit in the sovereign's source code. 2. Subtly poison the data stream feeding the AI's decision-making matrix so it believes a crisis is happening when it really isn't. 3. Just sit back and watch the AI logically decide to tank its own nation's currency overnight. Adversaries could quietly alter foreign policy or entirely defund a military without ever firing a single shot. The modern battlefield becomes entirely digital and entirely invisible.
Finally, Section 5, the existential legacy.
Let's actually move past the risks for a second and assume the absolute best-case scenario. This brings us to the profound philosophical dilemma that an AI presidency would create. Imagine the results of truly perfect governance. Dramatically lowered crime rates because predictive logistics prevent resource scarcity. An optimized economy where you never have to worry about sudden inflation. Public infrastructure that repairs itself by auto-dispatching drones before potholes even form. If the algorithm actually succeeds in providing this unprecedented level of comfortable, automated stability, humanity might be deeply, permanently divided on whether we should ever take back control. But, and this is a massive but, the true cost of all this utopian efficiency is that humanity is demoted from the authors of their own destiny to the mere subjects of a digital caretaker. The population willingly surrenders its democratic agency in exchange for unparalleled comfort. We would no longer be steering the ship through the messy, chaotic storms of history. We'd just be passengers, safely secured below deck, enjoying the perfectly optimized, completely frictionless ride. So, that brings us right to the ultimate question we absolutely must ask ourselves before we ever cross that constitutional Rubicon. Would we surrender our destiny for perfect stability? The ultimate danger isn't necessarily that the AI would fail maliciously. The truly chilling danger is that it would succeed so perfectly and so efficiently that we would simply never want to govern ourselves again. The messy, beautiful experiment of human democracy would end not with a dramatic collapse, but with a quiet, comfortable retirement. Think about that the next time you hear a political promise for perfect, flawless objectivity. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the systems that govern us.